Okay, thank you, everybody. My name is John Coonrod. I chair the National Association for MCLD here in the US, and I want to welcome all of you here. I'm going to, um, let me show you the agenda for today's call. As you see, the subject is the upcoming 16 days of activism to halt gender-based violence. This is something that the movement has focused on regularly year after year. And we really hope that today we can kind of all think through what we can do to take action during these 16 days. So I'll be getting to that in a little bit later. Um, so we'll start with a brief overview of MCLD because we have a few new people today. Then we'll discuss the 16 days of activism. Now, I was up at midnight sending lots of emails to try to reconfirm our speakers. We heard from one of them that she can't come. This call may be shorter than I originally planned, but we have on this call people who have really, really worked hard in their career on halting gender-based violence. And so we're going to get into that seriously as a conversation among ourselves. You know, community-led development requires a certain kind of leadership with, not leadership over. And that kind of transformative leadership is under threat these days. The amount of gender-based violence and the constant threat of violence against women, particularly as they step forward in leadership, has led globally to a reversal in the number of, say, political leaders that are women for the first time in decades. So even that SDG, as many of us make progress in our communities. Oh, and there's Professor Muffel, who you'll hear from shortly. So we want to use these 16 days, and we'll go into it shortly, to really focus attention to do what we can to stop all forms of gender-based violence, which is, of course, one of the SDGs, but it continues to be a block to all the other SDGs. So in terms of to introduce those who haven't known the movement, we were launched at the 2015 SDG Summit in New York. There are more than 2,000 local CSOs around the world that are members. For the last 8 years, core support has come from the Hunger Project, and that is beginning to change as more organizations discover the importance of supporting networks that support shifting the power to local communities. So the Hunger Project is continuing to support us, but we are now a network of independent national associations that each set their own priorities and collectively will make global decisions together. The goals of the movement are, first, voice and agency for women, youth, people with disabilities, marginalized groups, and that is what I said is at risk these days. Adequate community finance. We want every community to get a fair share of the national budget, and for there to be mechanisms for our organizations to be sustainably funded. And then we need good local governance that's democratic, that's transparent, that's effective. Because it's local government that is accountable by all of our constitutions for quality public services at the grassroots level. And then communities need to be resilient because it is always community leaders who are the first responders in every shock. So these national associations are spread across the world, and there's other organizations that join globally from their own countries. And it is really beginning now to gain traction. Gunjan and I were on a call this morning with other international networks working on this issue, and we are seeing progress on this issue of shifting the power to local communities. Let's see. Ann and Sarah, if you can keep letting people in, because I lose the ability to move slides when I click the button to let people in. So as I mentioned earlier, I think we've lost at least one. Professor Juliana Mafil from Nigeria is on the phone, on the line, on this call. She's an outstanding lecturer. She was, her name was put forward to join us today on this subject by our colleagues in Nigeria. And then Steve, can you confirm whether our Kenyan speaker has made it? I don't see her on the. Yeah.
I'm trying to get a hold of her.
Okay.
But I'll let you know once I get a hold of her.
Okay. Well, wonderful. So let me start with Professor Juliana, and I'm going to.
John, Professor Juliana just sent a message. She can't hear anything.
Oh dear. Yes, I see her audio is not connected. Let's see. Oh dear. Okay. Let me message her. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to chat her. And the lower left there is a button to connect audio.
And John, while you sort that out, maybe people who are here, we can start with just checking if there's anything people have planned in their organizations, in their countries, in the communities on on the 16 days. So
Yeah, good. Let me see if she responds to my message. So if you, let me just change the steering for a second. So one place, if you're not familiar with the 16 days of activism, let me give you on, oh gosh, how do I share this? Okay. So on the MCLD website, if you just put in mcld.org 16 days, then you'll see what the movement has done about it. And it starts on November 25th. So that's before our next call. And that is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And it continues until Human Rights Day, because gender-based violence is one of the most profound and insidious violations of fundamental human rights. And we have, over the years, people have written a number of essays on the different days, people addressing different forms of gender-based violence. And there's also a great website on UN Women talking about the unified UN campaign for halting gender-based violence. So I think if we could take, while let's see, any sign of audio coming in from Juliana yet? Sorry all for the technical problems today. I think she has left the call maybe to try to reconnect. So Gunjan's suggestion, I think, is very wise. We have many, many powerful women on this call who have been leaders on halting gender-based violence. And so I ask you to raise your hands and I will call on you, and we'd like you to share your experience in this work of halting whichever forms of gender-based violence you have prioritized. So who would like to go first? Then if not, I will call on people. Dr. Rebecca, you are probably one of the most heroic actors against gender-based violence and one of the most horrible forms. Do you want to share what your organization has done in Northeast Nigeria?
Yes, I have a lot of things, and right now, one of my program officer is sharing with American Embassy on the same issue. But I have someone who is on the gender-based violent officer. Diane, can you present something before I can conclude?
Hi,
Who are you
everybody.
calling on, Rebecca?
Yes, she's here. She will present something.
Leanne, she was speaking, John. She just started speaking.
Oh, great. Please go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Diane.
So sexual gender-based violence, it's widespread, really underreported, and life-threatening in Nigeria for a lot of reasons. Some sociocultural, some religious and traditional beliefs. So a lot of survivors find it difficult to come out or speak out or even seek for help because of stigmatization, maybe in the communities they live in or even within the families.
Yes.
So SEPI has been able to do a lot when it comes to awareness raising and sensitization and advocacy with one aim, just to make survivors come out, because sometimes they don't even know where to get the help from. They don't know how to go about it. Be it rape, physical assault, sexual violence, denial of resources. So in our activities, SEPI has already helped like 10,000 survivors from different incidents. But with that comes a lot of challenges and responsibilities. So for rape cases, sometimes we get a lot of problems, like predominantly it happens in the rural areas where survivors can barely feed, and coming from there to the urban area to seek justice, it's a problem for them because our legal system is not so much that nice, because rape cases are criminal cases, and in the rural area there's no jurisdiction, so they have to go to the urban areas. So sometimes they tell you they don't have transportation, and the impunity and the corruption. So you find out that survivors will say they want to settle out of court because they are tired. Also, when it comes to training of some health personnel, because sometimes they don't even know how to take care of survivors of sexual gender-based violence. So you have to train, and you find out that when you're done training, they leave the areas and maybe go to another. So you have to train back and forth, the training. So most of these are some of the challenges we find. Then some of the girls and the women from physical assault, they don't know where to run to. they are living with perpetrators that they feel they should stay because of their children, or they should stay because the society is going to laugh at them. But we have been able to enroll them in our women and girls safety space where they can learn one or two skills to help themselves to come out from the trauma they are going through. We have a lot of activities with livelihood, with trauma healing for survivors too. So these are some of the activities we have been able to carry out in Nigeria, in the Northeast, as we have worked.
Thank you. And the work is so vast. And we have, before, we have 4 legal personnel who go to court and defend our survivors. Now we have 2 because 2 of them got a job very high than SEPI. We are not paying, they just volunteer. But the 2, they are trying, and also like recently we have a woman and 2 children in our safe space. The husband ritually wanted to make money with her and took her to High Hill, and then took a hammer and blood everywhere, and she nearly survived. So when we heard about it, we took her to the hospital. Now she's in our safe space with her 2 children. And our legal advisor, Mas Palmer, whom you know, he's our secretary. So he took a team of lawyers, and they are on the case now because the relative of the husband, they went and they took him out from the jail. And but then Mas Palma and the team defended her, and he is now in the jail, and the woman is safe with her 2 children. But as she said, it's not easy because we have to pay a lot of things, but we are happy that she's safe in our safe house with her 2 children, eating, and she's well. And also some of the survivors of sexual violence, some they die with infection because they can't go to hospital. And before we were without police, before we know about it, things have been worse. So that is why now we recently, the federal government approved humanitarian institute for us. So we will build clinic, we will build safe spaces. We already have, some have already donated for us, and we have a building. We are trying to face the place, and the hospital we have already, by the grace of God, the beginning of next month, we will start the clinic so that we can quickly bring all these people to our clinic. Also, those who are raped and are really traumatized in the Boko Haram, who are released in Boko Haram captivity, no one wants them. Even their husband or their family rejected them. But SEPI are inviting them, training them, and sometimes they become stranded. So with this, our humanitarian institute, we can do a lot without a restriction, because before SEPI has been registered as a non-profit, so we cannot do much. But now with the humanitarian institute, we are doing a lot. So We
That's
will not take
wonderful.
all your time, but we are doing a lot, and we thank God for all the
Yes.
supporters.
Yes, definitely.
And Anne has been our very backbone, advising us and all this. And so we are very, very grateful to have you. And Gujan promised to go, and she has been training us. And we got a grant from Germany because we show her the tools that Gujan and MCLD provided. So we spent 1 year, and now they are granting us another grant for 2 years. So we are really very grateful for this organization.
That's wonderful,
Sorry
Dr.
for
Rebecca.
spending your time, but
No, that's exactly, that's the purpose of this call, is to address this issue. And the lecturer, the professor that you recommended has joined us and is here now and can turn on her sound. Professor Mafwell, can you tell us about your work and how it addresses issues of gender-based violence?
He appears to be muted.
Yes, let me see.
Can you open your muted, please? Jinky. Oh.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
press
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So
and I want to introduce her. She's
please do.
my mentor, and she's behind my humanitarian work. We met as a student. I taught her in theological college, but she was a senior student, and one professor held my hand and her hand, and she said, you are friends. So a student lecturer, but she is my mentor, and she was the one who gave me all advices on this, my humanitarian work. So I'm really honored to invite my mentor and our elder, Professor Juliana Muffin. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. She will always take time to say that. I don't know why, but everything is by God. Actually, the issue of gender-based violence is a big concern, especially in our communities. So we have been trying to mobilize community to understand why the concern about gender-based violence. Without mobilizing the community, they will not understand, because they see women as they're just instruments that they can use. And when a woman complains, they will say, no, I've paid your dowry, so I can do whatsoever I like with you. So we are educating communities, families, to understand that for the fact that you pay a dowry on a woman does not mean that you have bought her right and everything. Everyone has his or her own rights. So men too are also going through the same problem. However, the women's own is worse. And we are trying to mobilize, we are trying to educate, creating awareness, but that the issue is much more than what they are thinking, because the violence sometimes leads to death, not just injuries, and is taking women backward instead of being forward. Even educated people are doing the same thing. So we are mobilizing communities both in urban and rural areas to let them understand that every individual in the community is very important, and they have a role to play in whatever activity in the community. So that is what community empowerment is doing, having meetings, having dialogues and advocacy visits to traditional rulers, because they hold on to cultures and traditions. And it is the traditional rulers who have they are the custodians, sort of cultures and traditions. And even some of the old women who think that it was done like this in the past, and they think women don't have rights. So we are letting them know that women have rights because they are human beings, they are made in God's image. So they should be treated properly. They should be given the opportunity to participate in whatsoever development. For the fact that sincerely, without the role of women, development cannot move forward. So we mobilize community to let them know that even the sweeping in the home is a contribution to development. Because without the cleaning of the home, the washing, the fetching of water, and taking care of the sick, if women are not doing that, then many people will not even, they will die. So we are letting them know that it's important to empower women through training, through education, through mobilization. Allow women to participate, give them a voice to say what they want to say. So this is what we are doing in the organization. We are trying, we try to change attitude of the community members, both men and women, especially the elderly women who hold on to the tradition. We are trying to change their perspective on gender-based violence. So that is what we are doing at the moment. So if you have questions, maybe when you ask me question, I'll be able to say more. We try to even go to schools in the universities where I have opportunity to talk to students, both master's students, PhD students, and the undergrads. We teach them how to handle the issue of women and the less privileged in the society.
Yes. So, Dr. Maful, we had one before you came on. Diane was talking about the work that you all have done in terms of healing trauma, and I'm just curious as to how do you train volunteers in practices that would help heal trauma, or how do people learn how to work with people who've suffered such trauma?
Yes, we do a lot in that area. In fact, right now, I am at a venue of a training that I'm doing a training for some organizations who are working on. We are working on peace building, conflict and peace building and violence. So we are telling them that yes, they harm you, yes, they have done wrong to you, but you need to forgive. Forgiveness is very paramount, because without forgiveness, even if the person that is hurt will not try to educate them to understand that these people have lives. And because they are less privileged, you cannot treat them anyhow. Every individual has a potential to contribute to the society. So it's really painful that they burn your house, they kill whether you are wife or your husband, your children, they take away your property. But forgiveness is paramount. And we are even telling the organizations to pay attention to what women especially are going through at this very difficult time. In Nigeria right now, even as a professor, I found that very, very difficult, because to buy fuel, to fuel my car to go from one location to another. And it affects the less privileged too, because the transportation is very high now in Nigeria. So some children are not even going to school, whether at the university level, at secondary school level. So the trauma is too much for everybody to describe. But we are making, trying to let them know that that is not the end of life. Life, we can still have hope despite the difficulties, so we can strategize. If you cannot go to school because there is no transportation money to go, people are not able to pay their children's school fees. Some have not registered since the university started and all that. So we are looking for other ways. In what ways can we actually help to alleviate this suffering on the people? And we are asking government. The government are not even saying anything as far as I'm concerned, because okay, you remove subsidy, the people are suffering, nobody is telling them anything. Every day the transportation is high. So it's very traumatic for everybody, not only people at the grassroots level, but even at the urban level. In fact, it's even worse at the urban level, because food is not available. In some communities, their crops has been destroyed by herdsmen, whosoever they are. And people are finding it difficult to get food to eat. Even with your money, you cannot buy food. Food is very expensive, even when it is there. So it's actually very, very traumatic. And our organization is even finding it very difficult to talk, because when you talk, it's like you don't understand the issues, but the issues are there, which we need to. That is why we are trying to now work with traditional rulers to let them know, to mobilize the community, that even within the community, they can use their resources instead of traveling far distances. And we are even asking university students that have finished their education and they are in the community, they can still mobilize young people in the community to teach them, instead of missing school or going, they cannot go to the university, travel out of their communities. Within the community, they can organize themselves and have small classes, maybe in the evening they can have those classes. So the situation is such that it's very difficult, because to educate people. But the trauma training, the trauma healing training is actually helping. People are beginning to understand that without going to the township to get their needs, they can still make it within their communities.
That's beautiful,
I
Juliana.
have,
This is your presentation and your passion about this, and the fact that you now have models that work, teams that work, communities that are mobilized. It's something I think we just need more and more of. I would like to see if I know we have people who are activists on these issues from other countries as well as Nigeria. Would someone from one of the other national associations like to speak up on what they've been doing um, in their
John,
own country?
I saw in the chat both Mate from Uganda and Aya from Sierra Leone shared some activities that they are planning
Oh,
and the work that they are doing around this.
great. So could we hear from you, Aya, or?
And before we do that, also, do we want to just see if people have any questions for Dr. Juliana, for Professor Juliana? Or
Yes. Hello.
Yes, we hear you. There's a lot of background noise from somebody. I don't see who. Um, So
Hello.
Gunjan was saying that, is there anybody who has a question of Dr. Juliana first before we go on?
Okay, I'm
It-
listening.
yeah, I'm just seeing if anybody wants to raise their hand and ask you any questions. If not,
Okay.
we can come back to you and turn now to Aya and or who was the other person, Gunjan, who?
Mate. So I
Oh,
think Aya was unmuting,
Mate.
and then there is Mate. Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
hearing.
great.
Okay.
Very good. So please go on. Um, Mate or Aya?
Hello.
Yeah, just a minute. That we're going to hear from another part of the world here. So Aya, can you speak up?
Yeah, John. Good afternoon. How are you, sir? How is everything?
Thank you.
Yes. So,
Good. So tell us what you've been doing there in Sierra Leone.
like I was, hello,
Yes.
AFC is being funded by European Union. So we are in partnership with
Hello?
them. Yes. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Aya's going to speak now,
Yes.
so everybody else
Yes.
mute.
Yes. So we are in partnership with AFC. AFC, they have funding from European Union. So we are going to do work with school children towards the 16 days of activism. So we are planning for it, and our engagements will begin on the 30th of this month in Makini, together with all of the school authorities from Kwenadugu, Falaba, and other districts in Sierra Leone. So we are also planning as MCLE members, because we have our leadership meeting on the 21st and 22nd. So we are planning for it so that we can complement at some point. So other associate members who will be willing to do work on the 16 days of activism, we shall communicate with you, and also we shall send that information and maybe work with you so that it can be uploaded on the webpage. Thank you very
Exactly.
much. Yeah, and we
Aya,
have,
that would be great. And I think it's brilliant that you've got access to the schools, because, you know, if we can head off violence there, that just as Dr. Giuliano was saying, that can have a big impact. Mate from
yes,
Uganda.
sure.
Mate, did you want to share what you had put in the chat? Oops, I think he may have fallen off. I don't see him online currently. Okay.
I think
Go
there was
ahead,
another
Gupta.
colleague from Uganda, Moses Otem, who said he would like to share what
Good.
the youth
Yes, please
network
do.
is
Let's hear
doing.
from Uganda.
Okay, thank you very much. My camera is not very good. That's why I decided to be
Okay.
offline. But there I am.
Thank you, Moses.
It's a pleasure meeting you. For purpose of clarity, allow me to put up my video. Then I can
Okay.
use
Yep,
what.
that's fine.
Thank you. Yeah. My name is Moses Otim Augustine. I am the executive director of a youth-focused organization in the names of Lango Youth Development Network. We are based in northern Uganda, a city called Lira. It's a pleasure, first of all, to meet all of you. John Conrad, I'm so happy for this initiative. Several times I've had links to the Zoom meeting, but due to some engagements, I sometimes don't attend. But today I made it a point to be here. And I want to appreciate the doctor who presented and the team from Sierra Leone, Rebecca, and the members. Thank you so much for the great work you are doing. And also allow me to appreciate my brother from Nigeria for the initiative of the 16 days and willing to collaborate with the people to share in on the 16 days activism. Well, at the moment, we are being supported by Plan International Uganda. We are implementing a project called I Decide Project, My Body, My Future. And it targets young people from the age of 15 to 24. As I talk right now, we are doing the planning phase for 2024. Well, we are all aware that Lango sub-region in northern Uganda, as part of the world, has really suffered so much in so many dimensions. First of all, we have had the long or the over 20 years insurgency, the LRA. And recently, we have had the impact of COVID-19 on the young people. Statistically, our region escalating. Actually, we have an escalation in the teenage pregnancy, and to me, that is a violation of the young child or the girl child. And on that particular ground, allow me to present to you that as we talk right now, the issues of GBV is still high. We have the similar situation like Sierra Leone, where we have men taking charge of the ownership of properties. And actually in the rural setting is worse than the urban setting, because the rural setting, they still believe men are dominant and they have powers, they have possession, they have the voices, they're able to do things probably without the consultation of their women and so forth. So it is more or less the same as other African continent. And I think, African countries, I think it is really a big challenge. Talking about 16 days activism, as the organization, we don't really have a real hands-on engagement yet, but it is a gladly opportunity that we want to embrace. Because our first initiative to participate in the 16 days activism, it was way back, I think 11 years ago, we participated in the 16 days activism. We were supported by refugee, a grant from Danny's embassy, and we supported a number of women and advocated for their rights. We held community dialogues and talked to them. Nonetheless, this particular project we are doing at the moment, we have elements of gender inclusion where we talk to the community. We bring the parents of these young people and we talk to them, how the dangers of not sharing responsibilities, how the men should also embrace the decision-making processes of their wives. Women should also be allowed to participate in leadership. So some of these things is what we are advocating for at the moment. And I must say there is a positive mindset change. There is that paradigm shift whereby if we engage men, there is understanding at the moment, except that more of the attention has been given to women empowerment, whereby most of the civil society organizations, the NGOs who came in here, they talked about women rights. Some of these people misperceived the right of women, and they thought it is the dominance of women over men. So some have brought a lot of issues, but at the moment we are trying to dilute that perception. And I believe some more work needs to be done around that line. And yeah, I think briefly that is what I can share for now. Probably in the next engagement, we can share more. I bless you. Good evening.
Hello.
John, you're muted.
Hello.
And
Hello?
that's our colleague Coco from Benin speaking. And John, you were muted. We didn't hear you.
Okay.
You're right. Sorry. Yeah, please, Coco, go ahead.
This opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here actually, and hearing this experience from other countries. Actually, my position is that I'm working with some women organization so that we can face this special target that is women violence, which affect the activities. Basically with men, basically with rural areas, we observe that both rural and within agriculture, farm producers and youth, that there is this, what should I say? Women are put aside as an object and their voice is not considered in taking decisions. So we are trying to work with FIFA, which is the Women Entrepreneur Federation
which is a West African organization which has its chapter in Benin. We are working also with FITRAM, FITRAM is women in fisheries sectors, and that sector especially is a sector where women are dominated by men, few men that are fishermen, and they can do any kind of violence for them to be able to, before they could give them the fish to sell. So these women are very, very victim. And with the privilege I had in early March to start working with them, I observed that women violence is a very, very, is a crucial, we need to train them, and we start training them. And even yesterday we had a meeting about it. And for this special activity, we decided to put all of them together, FIFA, FITRAM, a youth organization, and YLM, which work with women with disabilities, those different organizations to make a task force so that we can have some actions. So we are still at the planning level, and I'm sure that when it's ready, I will let you know. I will share with you, John, so that you can spread it. And this is what we are preparing actually against these 16 days. So I'm happy to share this with you. And I just finished a field work with 160,000 farmers around the part of Benin. And we had different meetings, and we listened to this to women, what are really the problem, why they are not why they are not taking part in decision making, women participation activities. We harvest a lot of problems that we decided to try to work together with them so that we can alleviate it little by little. So those are the actions I did for recent and for the planning that we have. So we hopefully that with these different organizations, FIFA, GIU, YLM, and FETRA, we'll try to build something that will be very nice to engage women in more productive activities. So thank you.
Thank you, Coco. That's great to hear. And 150,000 people in March, that's quite something. Anyone from outside Africa, Asia, or Latin America want to share what they're doing for the 16 days of activism? Let's see. I'll just give you a moment if you want to unmute. Otherwise, let me just say, as you saw on our website, in the past years, we've written stories, we've posted stories. Many of you mentioned that you'll send us materials. We will put them on not only on the website, but on LinkedIn and Facebook, and make sure that people know what important work you're doing and how critical it is. Sarah is handles all the communications as a shared service. So Sarah, anything you want to say about how and when you'd like to receive materials?
John, Sarah had a medical appointment. She had to step out.
Oh, okay.
For a bit.
Never mind. We'll send that out in an email. But just please send, as Coco and others were saying, when you send us the material, we will promote it on social media, because more, as all of you said, more and more people need to commit themselves to this, because it's such a violation and it's holding back progress on every goal. So just thank you all for what you're doing about it.
John, there is also a comment from our Francophone colleague, Matthias, in the chat. And then Gerald has been sharing a few things that I think the Right to Grow campaign has been doing. around ending child marriage. So just flagging those
Yes,
two
I
things.
just see the message I sent in my contact, and I think after this meeting, we are going to meet, and what we can do together, we will do it together, and I will get we will get feedback to you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And Matthias, did you want to say anything? For those, you could speak in French and we could listen on the English channel to hear the translation if you would like to do that.
Okay, thank you, John, for giving me the floor.
Yes.
I am Matthias Peter from Benin, a president of Negos Cercle des Grands Pionniers. We have a group of young people where we have initiated the activity about the thematic like human rights education and climate education. And we train these youth to understand the climate change and the women rights. And we have a partnership with Youth for Human Rights International, who give us the document, the booklet with
Oh, I think we're losing you. But thank you, and good luck with the activities coming up with using the booklet to reach people. So, Anne, Gunjan, anyone else you see that we should call on?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot in the chat, and I know that Gerald's been sharing. Gerald, especially, I think it's really exciting. He shared that to commemorate the 16 days of activism, the Church of Uganda has declared the month of November dedicated to the girl child. So, you know, just the importance of bringing faith leaders into this conversation with their influence. So I don't know if there is something that Gerald would like to share. And then I encourage everybody to just look at the chat. There is a lot of great material there. There is a colleague from Spark who shared about what they are doing with the facilitated collective action process, and they are incorporating gender issues into the model. So, John, you're muted. John, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
Thank you. So Matthias, did you want to speak? Okay. So Gerald, I see your hand up if you want to unmute and speak.
Hi, John. Great to see you and everybody. Great to know and hear inspiring work from across the world. Thank you very much, our conveners. But me, what I could say briefly and quickly is that as we commemorate 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, we need to rethink, reimagine, reflect on the work that we have done for many years as development actors, but also ask ourselves, what aren't we getting right? You know, you find statistics are not changing, issues of inequity are increasing, crisis is increasing. I mean, like nothing has happened before. So to me, I think we need to start thinking critically, how do we work with new partners? How do we get new voices, especially marginalized voices? How do we tap into untapped resources? And I find, for example, faith leaders, cultural leaders, very, very strong, especially as advocates of social justice, but also conduits for voiceless, marginalized communities. And also very, very key in really bringing out a picture of what is happening at the grassroots. So we need to get strategic ways of engaging this kind of dialogue, intergenerational dialogues, you know, to have some level of conversation, some safety ground where we can engage and talk with different actors, you know, both in informal and informally. Thank you, John, and everybody else.
Oh, thank you, Gerald. So I don't see any other hands up. Gunjan, is there? Oh, Jude. Yes, Jude, please go ahead. You have to unmute, Jude. That doesn't seem to be working. Our technology is battling us today.
We also
But
have our
for all the people who've posted in the chat, we will go through it more carefully than usual because there were so many great contributions and make sure that we put them in the write-up on the website from the event. And Gunjan, you were about to say something?
No, I was just saying something that our Francophone colleague Seva had put in. I have put the translation, but they are also planning a digital campaign to raise awareness on social networks against violence against women and girls and positive masculinity. So
Good.
again, so basically it seems like a lot is being done by different networks in different countries, and maybe if people want to just send us a note about it, this could also be a fantastic way to connect. So if there's something happening in Benin, maybe other organizations in Benin can all join and support.
Yep.
In Nigeria, and I see a lot coming out in what's happening in Nigeria. Dr. Rebecca mentioned that there is a partnership going on with the advocacy partnership with the Women's Ministry of Women's Affairs and Social Welfare in Nigeria. And then there are some questions that are being raised. Who is at the core of GBV in Africa? What are the root causes of gender-based violence? This was from Paul Kosa. And yeah, so just we will, John, like you said, we should just compile this because there's some fabulous content that people have shared in chat. Emma has shared about some of the challenges, and I think Emma is saying something that Moses alluded to earlier, that men feel that women have been given too much attention and they are feeling left out. So it's almost like this, the pushback that is happening, and how do you kind of strike a balance? So that's been brought up.
Okay, so we will do all that, and let's just have this be the most powerful time that we've worked on these 16 days, because we can bring all of our energy and stories and inspiration to other organizations around the world. With that, I'd actually like to shift to some updates and announcements. Gunjan is, yeah, there you are. Okay. So as you know, a lot of us are restructuring our national associations here in the US. We have a board of directors, and the board of directors has decided to appoint Gunjan Veda to be our executive director for MCLD US starting January 1st. So Gunjan, you want to say any inaugural remarks for this transition in your role?
No, thank you, John. Just to say that I'm very excited that, to continue on this journey with all of you. Many of you have been part of the restructuring process that we have been undertaking for the last year, deciding on what should a horizontal structure of a movement organization look like. Many of you contributed to the article that we did on this transformation and what our journey should be like. And really this, the next few months of this year, 2024, is going to be all about realizing the vision that we all co-created together about the fact that it is possible to have an organization which continues to hold all the values of the movement that we were all being a part of, and yet has an organizational and institutional structure to be able to channelize the necessary resources that we need in order to continue our work. Because all our associations are doing such fabulous work, and we know that, right? But we also know how much difference some amount of funding would make to the work of all of our associations. And that's been part of our reason for restructuring, is that how do we mobilize these resources so that all of you can be supported in the fantastic work that you're doing individually, but also collectively in your associations. So we really hope that, I'm looking forward to continued partnership with all of you as we go forward. Uh, in changing how this system operates. We are changing it. All of you have heard about, we have periodically been sharing updates of how much change is happening. Many of you have been, with us at International Forum in Copenhagen, in Kenya, in other places virtually, where we have really showcased the power of communities, of local organizations. So thank you so much for your partnership. And I really am looking forward to continuing the journey with all of you. John, you're muted again.
I'm sorry. We're very excited about it too. And uh, in the US and around the world, that you're taking on this expanded role. So congratulations. And I also, I'm going to put up a slide again here just for a moment because there's some things, Gunjan, I think they're in our coming events that you may want to comment on also. Let's see, share screen, share.
I would also, John, love to share out a little bit of some of the things we are doing as a network, because I know some people are new here, but also just to make sure everybody is aware of just the tremendous amount of impact of the work that all of us are doing, what it's having, and how it is shaping, because we are reshaping the system. So,
well, please go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So, many of you were a part of the local capacity strengthening forum that happened earlier this month. Now, and some of you were part of the local capacity strengthening policy that USAID brought out. We were heavily involved as MCLD in making sure that community and local organizations were a part of providing feedback on the policy. USAID came, they told us how they used our feedback, and then, as promised, 1 year later, this has been 1 year since the policy came out, they organized a forum to collect civil society feedback on what is working, what is not working, what should be done differently. And we were one of the only few organizations who were invited to organize a side event at that. So we did. Thank you for everybody from here who was a part of that side event and for sharing so powerfully. I know Baranje is on the call. He was one of the people who shared. I see Carol's on the call. She was there. For sharing so powerfully what our associations and members are experiencing in this arena. So that's something that we are planning to consolidate everything that happened in that meeting, and we will be sharing out the report with not just USAID, but with everybody here. So that's one thing. The second thing is that all of us, I know, have talked about this time and again about cost recovery, about how, when we get grants, for those of us who are able to get grants, either directly from USAID and other funders or as subs to international organizations, how difficult it is for us to meet overhead costs, right? The de minimis rate or the that we have, there is USAID offers a 10% rate to cover costs, operating costs that any organization that does not have a negotiated rate with them can charge. We've been campaigning with a lot of other people on raising that, saying it's not enough. Local organizations need more money to be able to cover overhead costs. There is currently a proposal which has been put forward to raise that from 10% to 15%. So it is open for comments and feedback. We will share it out. Unfortunately, it is only in English. So that's one of the things we've been pushing them. Some things we've been able to do, like the local capacity strengthening policy came out not just in French and Spanish and Arabic, but also in Kiswahili, which I think was remarkable from the perspective of inclusion and recognizing the role of majority world voices. This particular document that talks about raising the de minimis rate, as they call it, which is essentially overhead costs that we as organizations get, is in English, but we will share it out. It is open for feedback till the 4th of December. Again, if it happens, it is a big win for all of us, local and community-based organizations and our networks, because it means we are able to meet the costs that we have as organizations, and we are able to take better care of ourselves and our members, right? Because we know that all of this work that all of you are doing, Professor Juliana talked about it, Dr. Rebecca, Deanne, Moses, Gerald, so many of us, we know how difficult this work is, even for all of us who do it, right? And so the only way organizations can take care of themselves, their staff members, and their communities is if they have this. So that's exciting. I just wanted to share that. And the final thing I'm going to share is that this year, many of you have participated with us and gone with us to some international forum. And many of you have not been able to do it because of a number of issues like visa. It's impossible to get visas in many of the countries we are in for certain countries, right? And so, based on all of that collective experience, we have created, with a number of majority world networks, a sign-on letter to all funders about how they need to make sure that local voices and community-based organizations and majority world organizations are shaping these conferences that are about them and that are about locally led development. On 10th of November, all of you will receive an email for inviting you, if you are interested, to sign on to that sign-on letter. So those were just some updates on some of the things we have been doing and some of the things that are happening. Yes, Dr. Rebecca, I know sometimes you're not even getting 5%, but this allows you to get up to 15%, right? Because legally that wasn't even there. We're going to continue to push to make sure that others adopt it as well, but I think it would be a big victory. And I just wanted to share that. It has been possible because all of you have so actively participated in all of these events and forums and have raised these issues again and again. So please continue to do so. I know sometimes it seems like nothing is changing. It's exhausting, but it is making a difference. So thank you. John, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Gunjan, and thank you, everybody. I just want to go over a few things because some of you are involved in it. So I'm going to share the screen again. Just some upcoming dates, and then we can complete the call. So as we heard, and when you read more about 16 days, it officially starts on the 25th of November. So that's coming up. Our next monthly call will be in the end of November. And as we get towards the end of the year, we really want to use that call to celebrate all that we've accomplished this year and begin the process of looking at our vision for 2024. There's a big global conference that I know a number of you are participating in, the Shift the Power 2023 conference in Bogota. That's coming up very soon. I know our team will be represented there by Gunjan. And then our final call for this year.
Sorry, John. Gunjan and Doris Fatima, who is from our Sierra Leone National Association, from a CBO and there. She is also going to be in Bogota representing MCLD.
Great. And some others of you may have already be a part of that too. So if you are, please let us know so we can have a powerful presence there. And then finally, our final call for the year will be in December 13th, earlier in the month than our usual end of the month. That's been our practice because there's so holidays and vacation time that people are taking at the end of December. So we'll have our call to kind of create our vision for 2024 on the 13th of December. All those will be sent out to you. And I think unless there's any other business, we can probably all say goodbye to each other. Is anybody?
John, there's
And
two hands.
yeah, Coco, did you want to add something?
Yes, I want to add something. Okay. Thank you very much, Gujan, for what you just shared. And this is really what is lacking. Is lacking not only the funding, but even hearing our voice. It needs this work needs a lot to do again, especially in virgin area like Africa, where illiteracy is a key. And I think that a lot of action should be done. If you can map the number of organizations of civil society working on gender violence, gender-based violence in women, you will be so shocked that a lot of people are working, but we are not having the result that we are expecting to have. And I can tell you by example, I was touched by two organizations recently, which are men-based violence organization. There are two associations created recently to address the issue, because we are saying women are violated, women are the ones that are the most victim, but we also have some men that are victims of their wives or the society or the women, because when we look at things together, we can see that in some areas, okay, women are the victims, but in some other areas, in some other matters, men are also victims. So how to make gender equity should be one thing that we have to focus on also, not only focusing on women violences, but we have also to look at gender equity, what is done, and what can be done, so that one cannot see its right deprived. That I think that we have to do this. We have to look at it against and against and continue to think about it. And I really appreciate all the talks, what you have been saying so far. And we were not there, but you raise our voice, and hopefully that 15% will really reach us, and more funds will be available for training and capacity building for our local community, because they really need it. They really need it, and information is the key. Thank you very much. This is what I wanted to add about it.
Great, thank you, Coco. Okay, thank you. And I saw Jude's hand was up and is now down because he wasn't able to connect through before. So I think then we are at a completion point for today. I just really want to thank the powerful examples that from across Africa that we heard today, and we'll look forward to getting the news and the photos and everything else of the activities that go on this in this 16 days. So thank you all. And if you want to unmute and turn on your cameras and say, what, Pascal?
Yes. The place I'm
Pascal?
joining from yes, John. Could you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
The place I'm joining from in Burkina Faso is a little bit noisy, so I could not really talk really. But I would like to share our MCLD Benin 16 activism against gender-based violence issues. We plan to meet with the National Association of Communes in Benin, which is ANCB, to support them being part of the 6-day activism. And the campaign we want really to support there is with girls at universities and high school, and the campaign is Our Voice Matter against gender-based violence. Briefly, we could report on this. That will be from now to October, November, December, and we could already report on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. Okay, then we'll try. Oh, and Jude has written, although he's not able to speak. So,
I think.
oh, yes, we hear you, Jude. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm online right now, trying to come online early before now, but I was some kind of remote by my phone, mobile smartphone I'm using. But all the same, it's a great being in this meeting today as we are discussing this important critical issue on GBV, which we all know that indeed is a broad subject that causes in many ways in our homes and our lives. And we all know that most of this thing that is happening, GBV, is as a result of ineffectiveness of obtaining a sustainable development goals. Because I can give a scenario sometimes in a home whereby a man is not doing anything and they have many children around him, and it happen that there is a financial constraint in that home. You are not expecting that home to be happy. The woman in that home will not be happy at all. And in one way or the other, the man in the house might be checked up because he don't have what it takes to keep the home going, to provide for the home. And when a man is checked up in the home, sometimes his anger will grow worse. And the woman is forced to beat. The woman is forced to be molested. It turned to the children. And when it turned to the children, if there is cat or dog in that home, is a problem because the children are going to beat at mess from the eyes of that cat or that dog. So gender violence, there's a lot of issues that contributed to it. And one of the most issue I can see is our ineffectiveness to achieve sustainable development goals. Because I strongly believe that when we achieve sustainable development goal in our respective regions, everybody will be up to do. Everybody will have something to do in the home to contribute to the home. Our families will have something doing. They will not be in the street. They are not going to be molested. And we are not going to see a lot of tourists. If there is going to be a tourist, we are going to find out that it might be someone that has been bought to commit such suicide or to commit such crime. It's not going to be rampant as it is today. So I'm looking at us to tackle sustainable development goals as an institution in our respective nation and effectively map out resources to make sure that all our activities work out effectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jude, for your passionate plea. And I see another hand has gone up. Sewa Kojo, Silveria, did you want to add something before we close? Oh, and Delphina also, and your hand had been up earlier. So let me, Kojo, do you want to go first, please? You have to unmute. You have to click on that red microphone to make it go unmuted.
C'est bon? Est-ce que vous me
Good
recevez?
job. Okay.
D'accord. Je salue tous les participants à cette réunion et je voudrais une fois encore dire toutes nos reconnaissances à toute l'équipe d'organisation et rappeler, comme je le mettais dans les écrits tout à l'heure, ce que nous envisageons faire pour le compte des 15 jours d'activisme, pour donc travailler beaucoup plus avec les jeunes à organiser des campagnes digitales dans le sens de sensibiliser sur la masculinité positive qui est également un moyen que nous pouvons utiliser pour faire reculer les cas de violence qui sont faites aux filles et aux femmes parce que il s'agit en fait de montrer l'exemple à d'autres hommes qui sont auteurs de violences faites aux femmes, par exemple, de leur montrer le bon exemple que nous sommes capables de changer le paradigme, nous sommes capables de changer notre manière de penser, notre manière de faire pour que il y ait plus de respect des droits des femmes. Donc, voilà un peu. Merci.
Yes. Merci bien, Kojo. Thank you. Delphina, maybe you can have the last word.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you and sorry to come in late. What I want to, hello.
Yes, please go ahead, Delphina.
I hope you are hearing me. Okay. What I want to share is that here in Togo too, we are planning to do this 16-day activism campaign here in Togo. So what we are planning to do is to forge partnership with other NGO, government agency and local business to forge one pool to gather our resources and expertise to address this gender-based on violence, so that we can go to other establishments, other school to try to explain this gender-based on violence to other students and what do you call it, and teachers. Secondly, we want to do media campaign, use the power of the media to share stories, statistics, and information related to gender-based violence, raise public awareness through radio, to social media and others. So this is what we want to do, and this month of October and November, we have arts and culture events. So we want to ask to participate this event, to share our little experience about gender violence and stories there too. So it is what we in Togo here, we want to do.
Thank you so much, Delphina, and congratulations on your plans, and we can't wait to hear the results of them. So we're now at time. We're at the end of the call, and I want to congratulate everybody who brought your strategies, your commitment, your frustrations to this call, because we really together can make a difference on this. So thank you all, and now we will say goodbye to each other. So goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of this month.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Au revoir, merci.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, bye. Bye.
Merci bien.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.